This video will demonstrate how to use FarmRite to place a recommendation order or a task order on your agronomy recommendation inputs across two different zones on a field, whereas you might have planted to corn and soybeans. So when I open up my Summit, I'll come up here and click the FarmRite icon. I'll click the Place New Orders button. When this window opens up, you're going to set your crop season. And you'll notice here that I've got several seasons, but if you hit Manage Pick List, anything in the blue what's highlighted is what's going to show up in that drop-down list. So you can turn on or turn off as many as what you might need if you're doing things for analysis and things of that nature. But when I click the drop-down, I'll want to do this for the 2020 season. This is going to be for Jim Abbott, and it's going to be the number 1 field, so I'm just going to call that the JA1. And then underneath Jim Abbott, I'm going to open that up, and I'll do this just by that number 1 field. Now you could place rec orders and task orders across multiple growers, farms, and fields. That's the efficiency of our program. For this demonstration, I'm just going to do this on 1 field. Over here on the right, you will not ever see FarmRite 2.0. You'll see your location out in the real world. That's based upon how your business is set up for the invoicing. I open this up, and I come in here, and I say, okay, I want to select my agronomy for whatever that might be for my part of the world. I would open up my task, Tri-State Recs, open up the recommendations I want to run, and this will do the 100% P205 and 100% K2O based upon your agronomic equations task that you've set up with us through FarmRite. If I also want to include in the analysis layers, you can come up here and select those. Now again, mine is called SST demo services in parts per million because that's my units of measure, but you could have that set up for whatever you wanted for your own company, and your company name, whatever that task would be called, would be that name specific to your task. But this is going to be the analysis layer, so I've got mine set to 60-foot cells, and then those values are going to be plugged through the equation. So I hit next, and when this window opens up, I get this management zone tool. Now, if I want to do whole field, I would hit next, but I want to do this by management zone, so I'm going to select the management zone button, and up here underneath this tool on the top right, I want to do this by my corn beans 2020 season, which are these two different zones. So I'm going to come in here and select the west side, or what's going to be, and select that as a group, and that's 26.1 acres. And then I'll come in here and select my soybeans and select that as a group. And that's going to be my 24.81 acres. Hit OK to that. Now I've broken my task ordering down into 2 different types, and this is across the management zones. So now when I hit next and it pops up here, I'll just maximize this. I'll come in here and set this up based on my parameters. Let's say I want to use DAP for the P205, and then I would set this up for corn and specific for what I might want there. So I want to put this at a 265 bushel acre yield goal. And then over here on this side, I could hit fill with first. That would fill all this out because I want to use DAP over here. But I want to set this to soybeans and not corn. And that, of course, would be also dry grain. And let's just set that as 70 is the yield goal. Hit my next button, and it's going to open up to my K Recs with all the specific parameters already filled out. But I'll need to come in here and select what product that I want to satisfy this with. So I'll satisfy this with my potash rec on each side, making sure that I've got everything like what I want. You got to be careful, because if you fill this one out thinking, okay, this will update this potash over here underneath the soybeans, if I hit fill with first, notice what happened. It fills this second field or third or fourth or fifth with whatever's in that first field's inputs. And you'll notice it changed that from soybeans to corn. So you got to be cautious about that. But I'll come back in here and set this up as everything is appropriate and hit my next button. You'll get the confirmation page that shows you what your inputs and everything was. And I'll place the order. It's going to ask if you want to print this off. In my case, I'll just say no. And would I like to place another order? And I'll say no to that as well. When that window closes, I can come up here to the dashboard in the Summit view and hit my blue text that says display live order tracking, and you'll notice it's down to 30. If I hit refresh, now it's down to 29. Until this zeroes out, there's nothing to bring back, so we'll let that catch up, and once it does, then I'll show you where to go next. When everything is complete and I hit the refresh button, you'll notice that it says that I'm currently not processing any orders. So that means that I can synchronize back now because everything's done up on the server in the AgX cloud. So I'll hit the sync button and let this process run through and download everything back to my desktop summit. Once that's completed, I can view the summary, and that shows me all my analysis services, what it created, as well as any recommendations that I had on the field. Once Summit opens back up, I'll come up here to the dashboard and come in here and look at my different tasks. In this case, it finished 16 of the 50 tasks that I asked it to do, but it has several here that it didn't complete underneath this JA1 field. So if I click on the delayed, everything in the red is what it delayed upon, everything in the black is what it completed. But down here on my tri-state recs, I notice that my K and P recs are duplicated. So I'm going to hit the preview task once I select one of those, and it's going to pop up here for the window, and it says we have duplicate data, meaning we have the soil test points in there for the same season or for multiple seasons, and it doesn't know which of those to actually use for the task order. So I'll come in here and I'll select that, and it shows me both of these. Well, I want the one that I pulled in the 2019 season. I would then select that and commit that selection to satisfying that particular task, and it's going to ask me if I want to use this operation layer to satisfy the parameters, as well as do I want to apply this data task for this field in this order. That's the other P recs and all the K recs, and I'll just say yes to that. And that will queue everything back up. I'll just hit the done button. Once I do, it will go away, and a window will pop up that says selection saved. If I hit OK to that, and if I come back in here to my dashboard and go back to the display live order tracking, you'll notice now that it's processing those two orders that it got confused on there a moment before. So then when that's finished, I can hit the refresh button, and now that's done. So I'll come back in here, close those windows down, and resync everything back from the cloud, AgX cloud, back to my desktop. Once that's completed, I can view the summary, and now you'll notice that I've got my nutrient recs as well as my product recs now completed on that particular field. I'll close that, go back to my maps view down to that level, and if I come up here to the top left and I turn on my recommendations, now for 2020 I've got potash for both sides of the field for my corn and beans. And if I come in here and turn one or the other off, there's my soybean needs for potash, and there's the corn needs for potash based upon my recommendation parameters, such as if I highlight that, it shows me here this is based upon 265 bushel acre corn on this half of the field. I will show you in just a moment in a later video how to take your two recommendations for different crops, merge them into one recommendation so you have one layer, so that you can go out there and then apply that across the corn and bean acres and not be concerned about having to load up two separate.